Is recognized.
During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purpose of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection.
Last night, the Rules Committee met and reported a rule, House Resolution 951, providing for consideration of 6 measures. The rule provides for H.R. 4776, the SPEED Act, to be considered under a structured rule, making in order 6 amendments. Additionally, it provides 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Natural Resources or their respective designees, and it provides for 1 motion to recommit. Further, H.R. 1366, the Mining Regulatory Clarity Act, and H.R. 845, the Pet and Livestock Protection Act, will be considered under closed rules with 1 hour of debate each equally divided and controlled by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Natural Resources or their respective designees, and provides each with 1 motion to recommit. Additionally, H.R. 3616, the Reliable Power Act, and H.R. 3632, the Power Plant Reliability Act of 2025, will each be considered under closed rules with 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Energy and Commerce Committee or their respective designees with 1 motion to recommit. Finally, H.R. 4371, the Kayla Hamilton Act, will be considered under a closed rule with 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Judiciary or their respective designees, and provides 1 motion to recommit. Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this rule and in support of the underlying legislation. The rule before us gives this House an opportunity to finally begin undoing the damage caused by years of reckless regulatory overreach and economic mismanagement driven by Democrats' failed policies. Joe Biden may no longer be in the White House, but American families are still paying the price for his administration's failures. Under President Biden, this country experienced the worst inflation spike in 40 years, and we're still paying the price. Groceries cost more, housing costs more, transportation costs more, and working families were left wondering how much further their paychecks could stretch. And that pressure didn't stop there. Under Democratic leadership, electricity prices surged by more than 20% in many parts of the country, including my own in New York. Families opened their utility bills and asked a simple question: why is this getting so expensive so quickly? And the answer is clear. Democrats chose ideology over affordability. They chose mandates over reliability. And they chose Washington control over simple, plain common sense. Mr. Speaker, the rule provides for consideration of H.R. 4776, the SPEED Act. And for years, Democrats have taken the well-intentioned National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, and twisted it far beyond its original purpose. NEPA was meant to be a common-sense safeguard for our environment, not a tool to block projects indefinitely. But that's exactly how it's being abused today. NEPA is now one of the most litigated statutes in federal law, not because projects fail environmental standards, but because a small group of activist organizations exploit the process itself. They file endless lawsuits to stall infrastructure, energy, and conservation projects for years and years, sometimes decades, with little regard to the real-world consequences for workers and families and communities and progress. And those consequences are real. Projects get shelves, costs skyrocket, jobs disappear, and families pay more for energy, housing, and basic infrastructure. We see this broken system clearly in upstate New York. Take Micron, a company and a project too big to fail. This historic investment to bring advanced semiconductor manufacturing back to the United States is critical for our country, for our national security, and for the upstate economy. This project means thousands of good-paying jobs and a stronger domestic supply chain. Yet, despite meeting some of the most stringent environmental review requirements in the country under New York law, Micron is still being forced through duplicative federal reviews that reach the very same conclusions as the state reviews. As a result, Micron is the only semiconductor project in the country held up pending a full environmental impact statement, not because of environmental risk, but because of bureaucratic delay and regulatory duplication. This is not environmental protection. This is regulatory paralysis, and it's costing us jobs and a brighter economic future. Time and again, Democrats defend this broken system because it gives Washington more control and activist groups more leverage. But because of this process, the result is gridlock. Nothing gets built, nothing gets fixed, and nothing gets cheaper. The SPEED Act restores balance. It reins in duplicative reviews. It requires the federal government to make timely decisions and stops endless delay from becoming the official policy of the government. If Democrats are serious about infrastructure, clean energy, and environmental progress, they should support fixing the permitting system that they helped break. They should have no problem supporting things like the SPEED Act. Mr. Speaker, the rule also provides for consideration of H.R. 3632, the Power Plant Reliability Act. Years of Democratic energy policy have put our electric grid under real significant strain, and Americans are feeling the consequences in real time. Demand is rising rapidly. Manufacturing growth and electrification are pushing this system harder and harder every single year. And at the same time, Democrats are forcing reliable baseload generation offline without a serious plan to replace it. Instead of coordinating policy, they regulate in silos. Instead of planning for reliability, they react after the fact. The Power Plant Reliability Act forces accountability. It ensures regulators cannot quietly retire critical power plants without fully understanding the reliability consequences on our nation. Americans don't need a white paper to understand what happens when reliability is ignored. They see it when the power goes out. They feel it when their energy bills spike. And they pay the price when Washington refuses to plan for real-world demand. Keeping the lights on should not be controversial. This should be something we should be able to get 435 votes on. But Democrats chose politics over reliability, and the families in this country are the ones paying the price right now. Premature plant retirements are only part of the problem. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 3616, the Reliable Power Act. The bill addresses another uncomfortable truth that Democrats don't want to admit. Federal agencies are finalizing regulations that directly threaten grid stability without fully accounting for the consequences, and that's just purely reckless. The Reliable Power Act, it requires a long-term reliability assessment that ensures that when serious risks are identified, regulators cannot simply ignore them and press ahead anyway. Quite simply, this legislation is about ending once and for all the implementation of asinine regulations that only harm our grid's reliability. Reliable electricity underpins everything: public safety, economic growth, hospitals, schools, national security. Republicans are treating that responsibility seriously, and that's why we're bringing this legislation forward today. Unfortunately, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are not. And Mr. Speaker, the rule also provides for consideration of H.R. 1366, the Mining Regulatory Clarity Act. Democrats talk endlessly about supply chains and national security, but their policies undermine both. Domestic mining projects are stalled not because they fail environmental standards, but because Democrats have once again allowed endless litigation and regulatory ambiguity to choke them off. That means fewer American jobs. It means greater dependence on foreign adversaries that are getting rich in the process. And it means higher costs across our economy. If Democrats want secure supply chains and fewer imports from hostile foreign powers, this is exactly the kind of bill that they should support. Mr. Speaker, the rule also includes consideration of H.R. 845, the Pet and Livestock Protection Act. It's impossible to deny that the recovery of the gray wolf is a success story. Population goals were met years and years ago, yet Democrats refuse to trust the science and acknowledge clear success of saving the gray wolf population in this country. And why? because it would mean betraying the radical environmental groups that want to see laws like the Endangered Species Act weaponized rather than work as intended to save these animals. Instead of bowing to their base and ignoring the science, Democrats have kept the future of gray wolf management trapped in endless litigation, leaving farmers and ranchers to deal with the real consequences that they face on their ranches and farms every single day. What are those consequences? Livestock are attacked. Livelihoods across rural America are threatened, all to satisfy the whims of a radical left activist base who thinks their food comes from the grocery store and their energy comes from a socket in the wall when you plug something in. The Pet and Livestock Protection Act puts an end to this endless litigation and weaponization of the ESA. It recognizes science, acknowledges success, and restores balance, something our colleagues on the other side of the aisle seem unwilling to do. Mr. Speaker, and finally, the rule provides for consideration of H.R. 4371, the Kayla Hamilton Act. The bill exists because of a tragic failure. One of my Democratic colleagues who supported the last administration for 4 long years of open borders would rather continue to ignore. As the first Trump administration recognized, the unaccompanied alien children program has been exploited by criminals, including gang members, who come to this country as wolves in sheep's clothing. These individuals use the UAC system not for protection, but to recruit and traffic new members and to wreak havoc on American communities. Under the Biden administration, open border, no consequences policies my Democratic colleagues wholeheartedly supported, that exploitation exploded. During the Biden years, approximately 465,000 unaccompanied alien children were released to unvetted sponsors. The program lacked basic safeguards to prevent illegal aliens from serving as sponsors. According to Health and Human Services, roughly 85% of UAC sponsors lack lawful immigration status. Thanks to the Biden administration's own policies supported by Democrats for 4 years, countless smugglers, cartels, and bad actors profited from nothing less than the exploitation of children and human trafficking. Instead of tightening safeguards as encounters surged, Democrats chose to roll back background checks and sponsor reviews, moving children out of law enforcement custody faster, regardless of risk. The consequences to innocent children harmed from years of this horrific policy choice have yet to fully be reckoned with, and will certainly haunt generations of innocent victims for years to come. What we do know is that in May of 2024, the Biden administration had lost track of more than 320,000 unaccompanied alien children, placing them at heightened risk of sex trafficking, forced labor, and abuse. Mr. Speaker, this is not compassion. This is pure negligence. Picking up the pieces from the wreckage of the Biden-Harris immigration policies, the Trump administration has committed to locating these children and to saving lives, something that eluded Democrats for 4 long years. So far, more than 22,600 unaccompanied children have been located. Over 400 sponsors have been arrested, and tragically, 27 minors have been found dead, victims of murder, victims of suicide, victims of drug overdose. Those are not statistics. Those are lives that are forever lost to tragedy. The Kayla Hamilton Act restores basic safeguards. It requires background checks. It seeks criminal records from home countries, and it puts public safety first. I urge my colleagues to support this rule. I urge my colleagues to support the underlying legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.